You're about to watch a Trains Newswire video. If you enjoy what you see, consider watching some of our other full-length videos. Hotspots, Horseshoe Curve, Tehachapi, Chicago Racetrack, and more. Locomotive, the video companion to our best-selling special issue. And a special collection from documentary producer Rich Luckin. All these and more are available from our website, kalmbachhobbystore.com. Good morning, Trains Nation. Today is Friday, October 26, 2018, all day until midnight. I am so glad you could join us for another episode of Trains Newswire Roundup. I am Steve Sweeney.
I'm Brian Schmidt, and I haven't had that much coffee, so I'm just moderately glad to see you.
Yeah, but still, hey, at least we're both glad, and that's better than some days. Than some days or some days. Anyway, so I want to touch off this week on railroad news. Some really crazy things happened last weekend. You know, coming into Monday, we had two horrible train crashes out there. Overseas. In India, and this is still really puzzling to me. I don't fully understand it. And if I get this right, an Indian commuter train plowed through a crowd of people and killed at least 50, injuring many more. And the operator, as they call him over there, the driver, is under investigation for what he did or did not do or did or did not say leading up to and immediately following the crash. Also in Taiwan, high-speed rail, I'm just going to call this an overspeed crash, cause to be determined. Several cars crashed at, I think, 70 miles an hour or so coming into a terminal, which is about as fast as Amtrak goes in between cities. And it caused a lot of damage. A lot of damage. Full stories on Trains Newswire this week. Also, New York MTA, if you were in New York City, if you're on the railroads, Long Island, Metro North, the commuter railroad, or the subway system,
Don't forget Staten Island Transit.
Staten Island Transit. Yeah. You noticed increased police presence this week because of pipe bomb scares in the greater New York metro area. Again, that's all under investigation, but again, stories on Trains Newswire. Really unnerving time for a lot of people, and especially if you're a commuter, all of a sudden you see this presence and you hear about this on the news, you think that you might be in danger, but police presence on news. Let's go to some happy stuff. Do you have some steam or
I don't know that it's happy,
news?
But it is steam news. That makes some people happy.
That's right.
But he's off somewhere else today anyway. So.
That's right. Well, no, but we
have steam.
2 steam locomotives at least in the news this week.
Yeah. So later next month, this is October. Next month is November. So 2 different occasions in November, you can see steam in Wisconsin. The Sioux Line 1003 will be fired up the second Saturday. That's Train Fest weekend. Right.
This is the Mikado, a 282 steam locomotive. Yeah, it's actually 6 miles or 10 miles from my house. It's
firing up for a parade. They just kind of back out of town and run in with Santa. But it's a steam engine under steam that doesn't get to run much. Right. And then the end of the month, I think it's on Black Friday, after Thanksgiving there, they're going to take part in some festivities on the old Milwaukee road line up in Plymouth and Elkhart Lake.
That'll be really cool.
Get the details on that. It's going to be an all-day run. It's going to hit a couple different festivals along the way. Find out more on Newswire.
No, it'll be a good time, and by like mid-late November, it's going to be cold enough outside. It might just be freezing or a little below freezing during the day, so you can
really
get lots
see that steam.
Get lots of steam puffing out there. Great pictures. Good time of year.
There's a traveling steam engine.
There is.
So the Southern Pacific number 18 that lives in the Owens Valley of Southern California.
Is this the little narrow gauge thing?
It's a little narrow gauge thing.
Yeah,
I had a photo special, I think maybe a year or so ago, that everybody loved, even though they only have, about a quarter mile of track. Well, it's going to get a little bit of room to run now. It's been leased to the Durango and Silverton in southern Colorado
and northern New Mexico
to test. Well, no, Durango and Silverton's only in Colorado.
Oh, no, that's right. You said Durango and Silverton. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Al Harper's operation.
That's right.
To train the crews there on oil-fired steam. The Durango and Silverton, of course, had some major forest fires earlier this year, cause not yet determined. But to be a good neighbor, the railroad is looking at diesel power and oil-fired steam. Right. And while that conversion is going on, they want to get their crews trained on firing and running a steam fire.
Because it's different. It's like you're not shoveling oil into the firebox.
Kind of turn the valve a little bit.
Right, and it's different. Yeah. It's a lot different.
So it's going to have some public runs on weekdays in February. The details are on Newswire, and there's more on, I think it'll be there through June of next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, go see that while you can.
That's cool. Yeah, in Durango, Colorado.
And,
Skookum. Did you have something on Skookum?
Well, I had a note to talk about Skookum, but you have more details, so you can go with it.
Well, okay. So Skookum is the 2442 logging locomotive that's now alive and steaming at the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad on the coast of Oregon. Visited that in June. Really great place to visit. But it's operating, but it has a low pressure problem, right? Low pressure valve chest problem. Now, what specifically that problem is, they're trying to figure it out. But if you're trying to figure out what that might be, in a compound locomotive, which this is, there's high pressure cylinders up front, and so the steam boils up and it goes to the high pressure cylinders, and then they recycle that steam, use it a second time, pipe it back through into a second set of cylinders, which are low pressure cylinders. And so the chest in that steam assembly has a leak or a problem or a misfitting of some kind, and they're going to be looking into that, because if you have 2442, you need all of them working correctly and adequately in order to pull the locomotive. Otherwise, you've got like the front end pulling a dead back end, and it doesn't work.
The 2s don't matter as much as the 4s. 2s are just along for the ride.
Right. Well, yes. I mean, yeah, the 4's in the middle.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
you can see a picture of the locomotive online, and you'll know what I mean.
One quick diesel story. I'm sure you've got some Bill Stevens stuff for him.
I got some Bill Stevens stuff,
so
but we got a diesel story, and people love diesels.
One quick diesel story. There's an Elko S4, former Santa Fe, going to an Arizona museum. The museum purchased it a couple years ago, and now it's en route. We have story and photos on Newswire. The locomotive bounced around with industrial operations. I came across it years ago as the elevator switcher in Gilman, Illinois. Anybody who's ever been along the Illinois Central or down along Interstate 57 in Gilman has probably seen this. Sitting there by the Amtrak station at Gilman, you could get a decent shot.
Sweet.
Down there. But yeah, that engine's moved on. It's been replaced by another Elko, go figure. But this S4, former Santa Fe, is now at a museum in Arizona, and the details, of course, are on Newswire.
And for people who are not diesel heads, S4s are kind of rare, aren't they?
They're reasonably, yeah. They were early Elko switchers.
Yeah. So if you get a chance to go see this, and it's certainly check out the Newswire story. So yes, I have some Bill Stevens stories. Bill Stevens is our, let's just say, our general purpose business correspondent par excellence, based in Connecticut or Massachusetts, wherever he's at out on the East Coast. And he's got a couple stories out this week on earnings calls from Canadian National and Norfolk Southern and Union Pacific. The big UP, the interesting thing, I think the most interesting thing, is precision scheduled railroading. They're calling it PSR. It's got its own acronym now, so Precision Scheduled Railroading. And UP says that they are going full bore on precision scheduled railroading. They want to change their culture, but they're going to do it gradually. They're going to improve the railroad. They're going to lay off 475 managers by the end of this year, another 200 contractors, and they're going to begin streamlining the entire network. Oh, they also eliminated the Western Division as part of the restructuring. So that's in the Bill Stevens story. Norfolk Southern, in its own earnings call, executives said that they are also going for precision scheduled railroading, which they've shortened to PSR, and they're going to be doing other things throughout the network. By the way, they're all reporting record earnings, including Canadian National, which has finished, according to executives, about 80% of the infrastructure improvements they wanted to get to this year, which is a lot. They've added a lot of double tracking across the network between Western Canada and the city of Chicago.
They extended some sidings. Extended quite a few sidings, and so they've got capacity. Their traffic is increasing. They still have some bottlenecks, but traffic and the value of that traffic has increased enough that CN's revenue is through the roof right now. It's full stories on Trains Newswire. Let's talk about the UP for a minute.
What about the UP?
What's coming up next year?
The big boy.
And the Journey to Promontory special issue.
That's right. So. Journey to Promontory special issue. We also have a DVD.
We do.
Out.
Yeah,
we got it in the office.
We got it in
this
the
week.
office, yeah.
So be sure to check that out at, I'm not sure if it's on the website yet, but take a look at the website, which is the Kalmbach Hobby Store, or excuse me, KalmbachHobbyStore.com.
There you go, yeah.
KalmbachHobbyStore.com. Look for Journey to Promontory. And then we're going to be following up on the Journey to Promontory, which is the 150th anniversary of the joining of the East and the West with the Golden Spike of the Transcontinental Railroad in Promontory, Utah. But what the first thing I came to was, the big boy. In honor of that 150th anniversary, Union Pacific is going to be coming out with a big 4014 big boy restoration. It's going to be steaming all over somewhere in Union Pacific next year, and I'm really excited about that.
I am too.
It's going to be a big deal.
It'll get Steve out of the office for a while.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. And I'll have fun. And we'll do lots of live streaming. So be attuned to that. We're going to have Journey to Promontory. We're going to have Big Boy 484 coverage. Yeah. And lots more to do on that. So that's good. I'm trying to think here. Oh, one last thing. One last thing. To lighten your weekend, something completely from outer space. And I mean that. German Railways, Deutsche Bahn, is investing in a Canadian nanosatellite company. The satellites are going to be about this big, the size of a shoebox, maybe a little bit bigger, okay, I mean, about this big. And they're going to have about 140 of them circling the Earth at some point in the next 5 years, 5 to 6 years. And DB, Deutsche Bahn, is going to be using these to track trains and cargo throughout its network and around the world, so you can have real-time information on what's inside all of those containers and boxes and how fast the trains are moving from anywhere around the world.
Cool.
Internet of Things. Full story on Newswire.
Technology comes to railroading.
Technology comes to railroading in a big time, and the railroad is actually investing in the technology itself to be a leader of that.
The satellites.
The satellites.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. So that's what I got. That's what you got.
Yep.
All right. Hey, for everyone at Trains Magazine, we hope you have a wonderful, happy weekend. Take care.